So have you heard about the new feature and function on the iPhone where you can, when you're typing in a text message or whatever, you can hold down on the keyboard and turn it into a cursor to find your place? It's not a new feature. So a few days ago, around the office, there was a lot of conversation about Apple's new feature on the iPhone where you can utilize the keyboard as almost like a cursor to be able to navigate through text. And you can use this really on any application, any text application. If you're trying to highlight something to copy, you can utilize that functionality. And there was a lot of conversation about it. The interesting thing was, it just became mainstream conversation over the last couple of days when some people figured it out. There was one person on the internet, Chrissy Davis, shared this tip on Twitter a couple of days ago, and it kind of went crazy. So at the time of this recording, this particular tweet has over 133,000 likes, 57,000 retweets, and a copious amounts of conversation. Chrissy Davis is a food blogger, and she just came upon this functionality, tweeted it out, and the thing went viral. I ran across it again this morning, scrolling through some of my Instagram feed, and saw a video, Kelly and Ryan. It was on every popular website. News stations were talking about it. This new functionality and this new feature that the iPhone has. So first of all, this is not a technology review video. This is not talking about the specific components, but I did want to talk about how in business we go through these issues where we struggle with communicating a thought and communicating an idea. Apple, Steve Jobs, Tim Cook, the entire Apple organization and all of the marketing associated with Apple does a phenomenal job at communicating an idea, communicating that one thing that they want you to remember at the end of a presentation or a keynote. And I've admired the way that they communicated for many years. The situation now is that this is something, this feature, this functionality has been part of every iPhone since the launch of the iPhone 6 or the 6S. Back in 2015, during the launch of that iPhone, it was a prominent feature that they discussed in the opening keynote. It was discussed by almost every tech review blogger out there. It was one of the really neat functionality points of the iPhone because of that pesky thing where you had to go in and use the little magnifying glass to try to find that point in your text to fix it. Let's translate that over into our world and into the small business world, because this is a point of contention, it's a point of frustration, it's a point of confusion with a lot of people. It's how to communicate something. So one of our core values that we have adopted here is consistent communication, and I feel like this plays directly into that entire problem. Part of the struggle with consistent communication is the fact that in business, specifically internal operations, we feel like we have a team meeting and we say it once and everybody should remember it, and we shouldn't have to continue to repeat it. It should be the law and we move forward. The fact is that a lot of people don't comprehend it, or maybe they don't completely understand how it impacts them directly, or maybe they don't really understand the idea. So some of the things that we try to apply here, and some of the rules that I've found through other research that I've done, is that there's three ways that people get information. There's the verbal, and there's the written, and the visual. Those three components are huge whenever you're trying to communicate an idea. So right now I'm communicating this idea to you verbally, but you're also visually seeing this idea because I'm on screen, and by simply putting a few pieces of text on the screen, now I can communicate that idea in written form as well. All of us perceive information differently and will comprehend the idea differently. So finding ways to be consistent with your communication in all forms, because we run across this all the time. Hey, I didn't know you guys did that, or I didn't know that this was a service that you offer. And what happens very oftentimes is we as people, as individuals, we find a feature or function, or we do something consistently internally or out of habit, and we don't think about it anymore. This new feature, this new function that everyone is talking about right now because one person found it and the right people got a hold of it, is something that I've been using since it was released 2 or 3 years ago, and it's become part of my natural habit. And I would have never expected, never thought, never crossed my mind to share that with anyone. It's just a natural process that I go through whenever I'm using my device. What we find in business is that we go through things naturally. Things move at a rapid pace. We add new products and services. We tell people about it once or twice. We forget about it and move on, and they never really grasp a hold of the idea. And that is part of what we are trying to be about here with consistent communication. Repeating the idea in various forms and various stages so that each person can understand it, can buy into it, and can take a hold of it in their own perspective rather than us just saying it once or twice and leaving it be. So at Loc-Doc Security in our business, some of the things that we talk about frequently and we get a response from our customers of, oh, I didn't know that you did that, are things like camera systems, key card systems, even locks and doors. Not everybody understands the entirety of what we operate. And because oftentimes we make the story too complicated, or we make the functionality too complicated, that we confuse people with our message. And oftentimes in small business, it's very easy to do that. Us as business owners, as leaders, as managers, as employees, we understand because we have gone through the process. It's become habitual for us to do it on a daily basis. But we fail to put ourselves in our customers' shoes regularly. This particular tool, this particular feature got shared on the right platform with the right people, and it got shared multiple times, and it just exploded and broke the internet. But yet, there's so much other noise out there that your idea or your service oftentimes gets buried in all the noise, and you have to find ways to be consistent in your communication so that it gets the right people at the right time. I heard that it takes at least 7 times for you to repeat something to your own team or your own organization before they actually get it, or before they actually remember it, or before they actually apply it. I've also heard stats that only 3% of your followers on your social media platforms actually see all of the content that you put out. So with that said, it bears repeating that maybe you didn't know that we as a company do camera systems and keycard systems and locks and doors. And maybe you've never seen these icons before, or you've never seen this information before. Or maybe you didn't know that we have a weekly podcast that airs every Tuesday morning live on Facebook at 9 a.m. and it's recorded and uploaded on all of the popular podcast apps. Or maybe you didn't know that this video that you're watching right now is part of almost 200 videos that we have on YouTube full of business ideas and practices and strategies and information about behind the scenes of our organization. So with only 4,500 followers on Twitter, she's reached millions of people with a simple piece of functionality that even Apple failed to be able to share. She took the risk of sharing something that she thought was amazing, that she thought was brand new, something that she had discovered or uncovered, and shared it with her audience that shared it with the world. How oftentimes are we failing to share our stories, or failing to share ideas or processes with our teams, with our businesses, with our organizations, and with our customers? It's something interesting to think about.